Have you ever found yourself trying to appear strong while silently battling a fear that you're not enough? Looked in the mirror and felt that, despite everything you've achieved, there's still an emptiness whispering doubts in your mind. Maybe you even know what you need to do, but insecurity paralyzes you, sabotages you, hides you from the world, as if there were a constant voice saying, "You're not capable." But what if I told you that voice isn't yours? It was placed there by everything you've lived, heard, and believed without noticing. What if the problem isn't you, but how you interpret your thoughts? What if behind all that insecurity there's simply a mind conditioned to fear, not truth? Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, teaches us that most battles don't happen in the world, but inside our minds. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. It's time to look inward with clarity, firmness, and courage, because what holds you back can also set you free. If you've made it this far, it's because you feel something needs to change. And in this video, you're going to learn how Stoic principles can rebuild your confidence from the inside out with calm, presence, and inner strength. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because here we go beyond temporary motivation. Here you'll find structure, clarity, and practical wisdom to face any mental storm. Now that you're ready, let's begin. You are not weak for feeling insecure. That's one of the first truths Stoicism reveals. Insecurity doesn't come from nowhere. It's the echo of a thought repeated for too long. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what happens when you begin to believe you're not good enough, that others will judge or abandon you. Insecurity is the result of a distorted inner judgment. But what if the problem isn't you, but the way you've been interpreting yourself? Think about it. How many times have you been harsher with yourself than anyone else ever was? How many times have you doubted your abilities, even when there was clear evidence of your strength? Stoicism invites you to observe these thoughts like a wise person watches the sky, knowing that clouds pass, but the sky remains. You are not the weakening thought. You are the one who notices it. And when you change the way you view these thoughts, you change the power they have over you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul remains unconquered when it remains silent." That means when you observe insecurity without identifying with it, something shifts. You stop reacting and start reflecting. You stop drowning in comparison and start seeking the truth, because the truth is, no one is born insecure. It's learned. And if it was learned, it can be unlearned. The mind is moldable, and the first step to change it is to stop accepting everything it says as truth. Imagine your insecurity is like a dirty lens. Everything you see through it looks distorted. Stoicism helps clean that lens, showing you that your worth isn't in people's opinions or perfect performance. It's in your ability to be consistent, present, and loyal to yourself. Being stoic isn't about not feeling. It's about not being ruled by what you feel. It's about taking a deep breath and remembering, I'm not what I think. I'm what I choose to do with that thought. You are not alone on this journey. Thousands of people live trapped in this mental prison, unaware they already hold the key. And that key is awareness, clarity, the emotional distance that Stoicism teaches. Start practicing observation today. When a thought of insecurity arises, don't fight it, question it. Look fear in the eyes and ask, are you real or just another echo of the past? The answer might surprise you. Comment here, I am not what I think. I am what I choose to do. This is the first step to weakening the voice of insecurity inside you, turning it into wisdom. Now that you understand the root of this silent fear, let's move on to what's really sustaining your insecurity without you even noticing. Most of the insecurities that paralyze you don't come from what you think about yourself. They come from the fear of what others might think. It's like every decision puts you on an invisible stage, waiting for applause and fearing the boos. But Epictetus was clear. If someone offends you, it's because you allowed the offense. The pain of criticism doesn't lie in the words spoken, but in the power you give them. So what if you stopped seeking approval where there's only judgment? You can't control what others think, but you can control the value you give their opinions. Stoicism teaches that only what lies within our control should affect us. When you internalize this, you begin to reclaim your emotional freedom. Because deep down, insecurity that stems from others is fueled by a false belief that external opinions define your worth. But have you ever realized that no one knows your full story but you? The judgment of someone who hasn't lived your fears, faced your battles, or felt your pain has no authority over your path. That's not arrogance, it's awareness. Marcus Aurelius said, "Other people's opinions are like the wind. They pass, but they don't shape the solid rock." Once you grasp this, you'll understand that respect doesn't come from pleasing everyone, but from being true to yourself, even when others don't understand your process. You don't need to explain yourself to be accepted. You don't need to justify yourself to be enough. Constantly seeking approval is like chasing the wind. The more you try to hold it, the more exhausted you become. Real peace comes when you let go. Let go of the pressure to be perfect, the need for validation, the fear of not pleasing others. Because when you free yourself from their judgment, something powerful happens. You begin to hear yourself clearly. And when you truly hear yourself, you realize something valuable. Insecurity doesn't fade when others approve of you. It fades when you approve of yourself, when you stop looking outside for something that only exists in the silence of a clear mind. And it's in that silence that Stoicism works, peeling away the layers of false fear until it reveals your essence, an essence that is steady, calm, and free. Comment here, "I am not what they think, I am what I stand for in silence." That phrase is more than a comment. It's a declaration of inner strength. And now that you understand judgment only hurts when you consent to it, let's uncover the real enemy that quietly feeds your insecurity even when no one is around. How many times have you felt inferior just because you compared your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20? Comparison is a subtle yet powerful trap that feeds insecurity day after day. Seneca said, "Don't look at what others have. Look at what you have and can use well." When you measure your worth by someone else's ruler, you condemn yourself to a game you can never win, because there will always be someone with something you don't have. The truth is, everyone carries invisible battles. What looks like perfection might just be what they choose to show. Stoicism teaches us that true peace comes from turning your gaze inward instead of wasting energy looking outward. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't waste time debating what a good man should be, just be one." That reminds us the focus should be on becoming the best version of yourself, not a replica of someone else. Comparing yourself is like slowly drinking poison. You start to believe you'll never be enough, not because something's missing in you, but because you're looking in the wrong direction. Every step you take is unique. Every pain you overcome shapes you in a way no one else can imitate. Stoicism calls us to accept life as it is, imperfect, full of ups and downs, but always fair to those who persist. Imagine if Marcus Aurelius had spent his life comparing himself to other emperors, or if Seneca had given up because he wasn't as admired as other philosophers. They understood something essential. True greatness lies in mastering yourself, not in others' opinions. That's the kind of wisdom we need to reclaim. When you stop comparing, you awaken a strength that's been sleeping inside you. Comparison kills gratitude, and without gratitude, confidence is impossible. That's why a powerful Stoic exercise is to list 3 things you've already achieved each day, even if small. It helps you realize that your journey is no less valuable. It simply has its own rhythm. Insecurity loses its grip when you learn to admire your own path. Comment here, "I choose to admire my path, not compare it." That kind of personal commitment begins to destroy comparison's hold on your mind. Now that you understand this, let's explore how your excessive need to control the future is also quietly fueling your insecurity. Insecurity often disguises itself as concern for the future. Have you noticed that? An anxious mind keeps creating scenarios that don't even exist yet, as if that's a way to prepare, but in reality, it's just a form of self-imprisonment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You are disturbed not by events, but by your judgment about them." When you fear what's coming, you start living in an imaginary tomorrow and disconnect from the only time that truly belongs to you, the now. And what happens when you live under the weight of what might go wrong? you freeze. You start doubting your decisions, hesitating in front of opportunities and seeing threats where there may only be challenges. Stoicism doesn't ask you to ignore the future. It asks you not to be ruled by it. Epictetus taught, it's not things that disturb us but our opinions about them. So what if you changed your opinion about what's ahead? Yes, the future is uncertain, but that also means it's full of infinite possibilities. What happens tomorrow doesn't depend on today's fear, but on today's clarity and action. Stoic philosophy teaches us that mental preparation is more powerful than mental prediction. In other words, you don't need to control what's coming, you need to strengthen who you are. The more grounded you are inside, the less threatening the outside becomes. Look at the now. It's all you truly have. Every breath, every choice, every small action you take today is a seed planted that shapes the future you fear so much. And what if instead of asking, what if it doesn't work out, you started asking, what if I'm more prepared than I think? This simple shift in perspective can change everything. What feeds insecurity the most is the illusion of total control. But real security comes from acceptance. You take care of what you can control and release what you can't. That's not giving up. That's trust. And when you trust, you move with lightness, with presence, with peace. Stoicism shows you that power doesn't lie in predicting, but in staying calm amid the unpredictable. Comment here, I strengthen myself in the now, and the future loses its power over me. That's a declaration of presence, a Stoic way of disarming the mind. And now that you understand the cost of projecting yourself into tomorrow, let's reveal how harsh self-criticism is secretly destroying your self-esteem. Have you noticed that sometimes you're kinder to others than to yourself? You forgive other people's mistakes, but punish yourself for every slip as if you have no right to fail. This is the silent root of many insecurities, harsh self-criticism fed by unrealistic standards and inhuman expectations. Seneca said, part of the healing is the will to be healed. But how will you heal if you only punish yourself every time you feel pain? The critical mind isn't your enemy, it's simply misaligned. It was shaped often by voices from the past, demanding parents, harsh teachers, comparisons that left scars. And now, even as an adult, you repeat those voices as if they were absolute truths. But Stoicism invites you to observe those voices with distance, to ask, is this pressure helping me grow or just hurting me? If there's no growth, there's only a prison. Healthy self-criticism corrects with firmness and compassion. Toxic self-criticism only punishes. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that a man must be at peace with himself, and peace is only born when you treat your mind like you would treat a friend. With truth, yes, but also with respect. When you make a mistake, instead of destroying yourself inside, practice this reflection. What is this trying to teach me? Mistakes are not sentences, they are stepping stones. Start noticing the thoughts that appear when you fail. Do they lift you up or pull you down? Do they motivate you or silence you? What you say to yourself in silence shapes your identity, and if you keep telling yourself that you're not good enough, your brain starts to believe it, even when it's not true. Stoicism gives you back the power to rewrite that internal dialogue, to make your mind a temple of transformation rather than a prison. Allow yourself to make mistakes and grow, not make mistakes and punish yourself. That's not being soft, it's emotional intelligence. Because only those who accept the process with all its flaws and lessons can truly grow. Only those who get up without hurting themselves further can mature. And only those who let go of internal cruelty to embrace clarity can move forward. Discipline without compassion becomes rigidity. And rigidity doesn't create wisdom, it builds walls. Comment here, I choose to correct myself with wisdom, not punish myself with cruelty. That's a firm step toward a calmer, more secure mind. Now that you've learned how self-criticism can be your biggest prison, let's reveal the hidden value of imperfection as a tool for liberation. Have you ever pressured yourself to be perfect, as if your life were a stage where any mistake could bring everything crashing down? That's where insecurity grows, in the effort to hide your humanity. But Stoicism teaches us that to be human is to accept imperfection as part of the path. Marcus Aurelius wrote, Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together. But above all, accept yourself. The perfection you seek is an illusion that only distances you from your truth. When you try to be flawless, you disconnect from your essence, because there's no strength without vulnerability, no wisdom without failure. Every mistake you make, every moment of weakness you try to hide is building who you are, if only you look at it with courage and without judgment. The Stoic sage doesn't aim to be impeccable, he aims to be authentic, and that requires far more bravery than any appearance of control. Imperfection isn't your enemy, it's your guide. It shows you where you need to grow, where you need more care, more discipline, or more presence, but never more shame. Shame only arises when you believe that making mistakes means being less. But making mistakes means being real. And being real is all you need to begin freeing yourself from the insecurity that holds you back. The people who inspire you also fail. They've simply learned to walk alongside their mistakes, not carry them like a burden. When you allow yourself to be imperfect, you allow your mind to rest, to stop trying to control everything, hide everything, be everything. And it's in that inner rest that self-confidence is born, not from perfection, but from peace with who you truly are. What if you showed up as you are, with sincerity, presence, and humility? Maybe your connection with others would become lighter. Maybe you'd feel less alone. Stoicism doesn't ask you to erase your flaws. It invites you to walk with them, firmly, consciously, and with honor. Because a strong mind is not one that never stumbles. It's one that learns to love itself even when it does. Comment here: my imperfection is part of my strength. That affirmation is a gateway to a new kind of freedom. Now that you understand the hidden power of accepting your flaws, let's discover how silence and presence help you build real confidence. Have you ever tried too hard to prove yourself, raised your voice to assert power, or constantly explained yourself, and still felt insecure inside? That's because real security isn't built with words. It's built with presence. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul remains unconquered when it remains silent." And it's in that silence that you begin to hear something the noise of the world drowns out: your inner strength. The mind aligns only when the heart is quiet. Stoicism values silence not as the absence of sound, but as the presence of clarity. When you silence the impulse to defend yourself, to react, to please, you begin to realize how much your mind was being ruled by distractions. And every distraction feeds insecurity. But when you breathe, observe, and simply are, something shifts. You start reclaiming dominion over yourself. Confidence is formed in calm, not in rush. Secure people don't rush to prove anything. They don't live to show, they live to be. That doesn't mean passivity, it means awareness. Those who know themselves don't need to explain themselves. Those who are at peace with their truth aren't shaken by outside doubt. Silence then becomes an invisible armor, a practical wisdom, a language that speaks volumes without saying a word. Try observing more and reacting less, speaking less and feeling more, being present without trying to impress. A silent presence has an energy that commands respect, not through force, but through stability. And that stability only comes when you begin to trust who you are, even without applause, even without validation, because presence transmits what explanations never can: truth. The world is getting noisier. Everyone wants to talk, shout, show off, but few are at peace. Few can just be. And Stoicism is an invitation to that presence. When you connect to the now, to your body, to your breath, to your awareness, you reconnect with the security that was always there, just buried beneath the noise. Comment here: in silence, I find my strength. That phrase is a powerful reminder that you don't need to prove, you just need to be. And now that you've discovered the power of silence as a path to self-confidence, let's bring everything together into a new way of showing up in the world, with firmness, serenity, and purpose. The greatest illusion about self-confidence is thinking that one day you'll just wake up and never feel insecure again. But Stoicism teaches us that security isn't something you achieve once, it's something you practice every single day. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The life of each person is what their thoughts make of it." In other words, a secure mind isn't born by chance, It's cultivated like a garden that must be watered with intention and consistency. So how do you cultivate that security? Through small daily decisions. When you choose not to react, when you refuse to compare yourself, when you act despite fear, you're telling your mind, I'm in control. And that repeated gesture, day after day, rebuilds your identity. With each firm decision, you're not just building confidence, and you're building integrity. Because being secure isn't about feeling superior. It's about being aligned with who you've become. It's possible to feel fear and still act with courage. It's possible to have doubts and still uphold your values. Stoic wisdom doesn't require perfection. It requires constancy. One step at a time. One clean thought at a time. One conscious choice at a time. And it's through this daily process that insecurity starts to dissolve. Not because you destroy it, but because you stop feeding it. You don't need more external validation, more compliments, or more evidence. You need more presence, more emotional discipline, more connection with yourself. True security comes when you look at yourself with respect, even on your most fragile days. When you honor yourself, even when you stumble. And when you decide every day to be loyal to your truth, even when no one else sees. That's what real strength is. Repeating this process isn't easy, but it's liberating. Because each time you choose to think clearly, act calmly, and feel consciously, you become more of who you were meant to be. Stoicism doesn't change the world around you, but it changes how you walk through it. And that's the real power. Security that comes from within. Quiet, steady, unshakable. Comment here, security is my daily choice. Let this affirmation guide you from now on, not as a destination to reach someday, but as a discipline to embody each morning. And now that we've arrived at the final turn of this journey, let's close it all with a powerful conclusion. Now that you've made it this far, pause for a moment and feel what's shifted inside you. Maybe it was an insight, maybe a new sense of peace, or maybe just the silence of a mind that has begun to understand it no longer needs to fight everything. Stoicism doesn't ask you to be cold, it invites you to be steady. It shows you that even in the midst of chaos, there is still room for clarity, and that even if you can't control the world, you can master your inner world. So I ask you, which of these reflections touched your soul the most today? Which of these decisions do you feel you need to apply immediately in your life? Because knowledge without practice becomes a burden, but when you take action, it becomes transformation. Stoic philosophy isn't just theory, it's a path, a new lens through which you can see life with more strength, more presence, and more emotional wisdom. Start with one step, one habit, one decision. If this content has strengthened you, just imagine what's still to come. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because in every new video you'll find tools to master your mind, cultivate inner strength, and walk with certainty, even on uncertain days. Here you're not just learning how to live better, you're becoming someone who already lives in peace on the inside, no matter what happens on the outside, and that no one can take from you.